Hey guys, hope everyone's having a good day. So today we're going to do a technical analysis on Leonardo Fabbri. He is an Italian shot putter with a PR of 22.95, which I think still is the second furthest throw this year. And the Italian record where he beat Alessandro Andre, I think was his name. I forget. I can't speak Italian. I can barely speak English, so but I want to do analysis on him because I think him and Krauser probably have the best mechanics of the finish of the throw and shot put of all time. And I also think that he does some very unique things that I think a lot of people can learn from. All right, so before we even start, I just want to clarify he is 6'7", so he is the same height as Ryan Krauser. I think he's definitely like 280 plus pounds. There's no way he's any less than that. I don't actually know his weight, so I could just be totally wrong, but he's a pretty big dude. So even though he doesn't look very heavy, when you're 6'7", I mean, you don't look very big, but he's humongous. So I want to get that out of the way. So if he does a lot of things very, very well, but if you're a shorter person, maybe combine like what Zane Weir does from back to middle, and then like Leonardo, or I'm just gonna call him Fabbri. Fabbri's finish, because I think he has the best finish. But I think Zane Weir, who is his teammate, who has a PR like 22.44 meters, who's shorter, and by that I mean he's like 6'3", or something, like I think around that, maybe like 6'2", but a lot smaller, and I think is a little better for more relatable to people because he's built more like a normal human being than an absolute freaking monster. All right, but let's just watch this throw a couple times. So this is just a training throw. I don't know where. I just pulled this off his Instagram. So let's watch this a couple times. So if you notice, his finish is absolutely immaculate. But we'll get to that. So let's get here. So he gets here, winds, comes out the back, and you notice he doesn't go out. So in shot put, unlike discus, it's not necessary to go and be super long out the back. Now you do need to get weight over your left, and he does. So his armpit's over his knee and over his toe. All right, so he's has weight over the left, and he's balanced out the back. All right, so normally you see a lot of people like Krauser. This is a big difference with him and Krauser, is even though they're the same length. Oh, sorry, same height. They throw very differently. So Krauser doesn't sprint very much and stays super low and is super long out the back. And Fabbri is super short and compact and a lot taller in the ring. So even though they're the same height, they throw completely differently, and both still. Now, obviously, Fabbri's not Krauser, but 22.95 is still like further than like almost anybody in history. So, you know, it's not like he's bad, and he also has a world silver medal. So that, yeah, and so he's not bad, but I can't compare anybody to Krauser. But in terms of technique, both of them throw really, really far. All right, and are consistent above 22 a lot. I think Fabbri maybe has one throw this entire year that was under 22, and it was like 21.95 or something in the rain. So, I mean, whoa, that was terrible. But, yeah, I think every other throw has been like 22.30 plus. So, I mean, insane. But, yeah, they throw really different, but throw really far. So, this goes to show you that, you don't have to follow one style. You have to find something that works for you. All right, but in terms of the differences, and I'm going to be comparing them to Krauser a lot because they do similar things, but they do really different things too. Their finishes are almost the same, almost. Their legs do almost the same thing, more his right foot. But out the back in the middle, they look completely different. So Krauser is super long and super slow out the back. You notice Fabbri once starts offset and almost starts like Tom Walsh. Does wind far back, but he isn't even as long as Tom Walsh out the back. So he's here, and he's just super compact. Like, he does not throw like he's 6'7", which I think is a good thing. And what I mean by that is he throws, because he throws and he's a lot taller than Krauser in the ring, he really uses a sprint. And I think when you're that tall and you want to sprint, you got to be tall. You got to be tall in the ring. So you can't bend the knees. You can't have that exaggerated shin angle. You know, because you're just gonna take up too much space in the ring. All right, and even then, like, he has a very, very small power position right here. So he travels way far across the ring. And that's partly due because, you know, he is 6'7". So, and part of the reason why Ryan Krauser doesn't really sprint out the back is because he's 6'7". But he relies a lot more on being lower to the ground and being longer. And almost kind of throwing a little bit more like a discus throw out the back. Fabbri throws a lot like, I would say, a really good shot putter. So someone that does not throw discus or has not been good at discus. And I think either way is good, obviously. But I think if you're just like a pure shot putter, I might honestly prefer Fabbri. Because I think he uses his center of gravity a lot better. So, as I was trying to explain in the beginning of the video, so Fabbri is not super long out the back, all right? He's very short, but you notice that he's still over his left. But he doesn't, like, really get super exaggerated over his left, and he doesn't, like, reach his left arm super long. It almost looks like he's just in place. Like, he just spins in place. So what's happening is, so right here, so he winds here, and then here. So, okay, so here, keeps turning, and boom. All right, so it's not the characteristic get over the left, even though he is. The reason why he's over the left is because his butt doesn't stick out. So normally when people do this, they break at the hip and their chest may collapse in or like go face towards the ground and their butt will shoot that way and then they'll go drive that way. Now, yes, I know that he does drive a little this way, but I mean, like, they'll usually go like over here and land blocked off, which I know he lands blocked off. So this is just a technical practice video. So, I mean, I don't even know how far. This probably went way over 22. But this is just practice. So, but, I mean, so it's not like the most technically perfect throw ever. I think it's actually a shakeout before meet. So, I think he's just focusing on feeling. But I could be wrong on that because I don't know his training or anything. But, yeah, so, what was I saying? Oh, yes, the reason why he's over the left is because he's not breaking at the hip. So he has a strong hip. So what he's doing is he's basically just turning in place. So he's not dramatically shifting over the left. So what this is doing is, one, it makes him super fast out the back. All right, and you notice here. So he's not super long and patient. He just gets out the back and just goes. All right. And for this kind of style of throw, you want that. It's very hard to do this and go slow out the back. It relies on you on just really, really cranking that left foot. All right. So he gets really good separation here between the knees. Really, really good wide sweep here. Really good. So he turns the left foot down this sector. Beautiful. All right. Holds the chest extremely well here. All right. So he gets here. And he does get a good shin angle, but it's not as exaggerated as, you know, like Ryan Krauser. But he does get a very, very good shin angle still. So it's not like completely, he's not just standing straight up. All right, so that's very important. Like, he's still bending his knees. So that is important to, you know, anybody who's lucky enough to be 6'7", you know. Um, so yeah, just keep that in mind. So when I say that he's taller in the ring, I'm not saying he just never bends his knees. So he does. It's just not as much as like Krauser or someone like that. All right, but I really, really love this out the back. So I think I made a video, I think like a week or two ago, about how to get over the left and what to look for. So the armpit over the left knee and then the left toe. So all his weight is still shifted onto his left. All right, so he has weight over the left. And you notice here, he's perfectly balanced. So his head, that's a bad line. Jesus, there we go. So his head and heel are in line with each other. So he has weight. He's perfectly centered. Woo. He's perfectly centered over his foot. All right. So the reason in shot put that you don't need to go very long is because of the center of gravity that shot put has. So in discus, you have something back here, all right, to counterbalance you. And you rely a lot more on, you know, the radius because, you know, it's further away from you. So you can use the longer lever compared to shot put. Where shot put is basically your head. So basically right in the middle of you. All right. So you see a lot of shot putters do not get super exaggerated over the left compared to discus. Because one, it's very hard to do that because you don't have that counterbalance of the discus out here. You have it here. So usually what tends to happen when a shot putter goes super far over the left, you tend to stop the left foot earlier or slow down because it's very hard to turn. Whereas discus, it's a lot easier to stay balanced, and you want to be a lot longer because of the forces. All right, and I can make a video specifically on that if you guys want, because I'm not going to go through all that in this video because it's supposed to be a technical analysis. But just to let you guys know, a little sneak peek. All right, so he gets here. Already said really nice sweep. I really love. Let me back that up. So he's here. He doesn't lead with the knee. So he gets super nice with the groin. And I want you guys to notice that he holds this chest. So he's super active with his left arm out the back. So his left arm is actually ahead of his left knee, which is very nice. I really like that. And that's okay as long as he stops it, which he does. So he stops. His shoulders are perfectly square to sector. His hips are perfectly square to sector. So right here. And he brings his left arm in. All right, and then he bends his left arm. So it's almost, he bends his arm kind of like a Lars Riedel or a Virgilis Helekna. And I tend to see taller people do this. Krauser, not really that much. You don't really see it a lot in shot putters, but you see it a lot more in like taller discus throwers. Really kind of like bending that left arm. And I've said this multiple times in videos. I hypothesize two things. One, it's just a natural thing he does that just feels comfortable for him. Or two, because he's tall, bringing in the left arm just speeds you up a little bit and more keeps you from traveling too far forward. All right, so he could be doing that so he doesn't go way too far across the ring. Which is why you technically, like, because, you know, like, Virgilis Helekna was like 6'9", and Lars Riedel was like 6'7". So, like, tall people. All right, so you tend to see discus throwers more do this than shot putters. Shot putters usually keep their left arm super long. I know Reese Hoffa bent his arm in the middle, but then he extended it at the finish. Or, like, here, then it would be longer. Krauser kind of does that. No, not really. But he keeps his left arm bent. All right? And that's fine. Because I want you guys... Well, okay, I guess we're already on that tangent. So the reason why it's fine is because if you notice, so he's here, and I've said this in the video I did on Lars Riedel, and I think I did one on, yeah, I've done one on Alekna as well. So go check those out. But to give you a recap of that concept, because I went really in depth on that in those videos. I think more in the Lars Riedel one. You notice that his shoulder is super long and his elbow's long. So he doesn't tuck his elbow into his chest or his rib cage. So he keeps it long and he reaches long. All right, so it has the same effect as the left arm getting super long. You know, because the shoulder is still reaching out and around. So he still gets that chest stretch that he gets that you want in shot put and in discus. All right, so it does the same thing. It's just his elbow's just bent. That's really the only difference. To put it in layman's terms, I go way more in depth in like the Lars Riedel video and I think the Virgili Selekna video I made. So check those out if you want to know more about that, or if you just want me to make an actual just standalone video about that, you guys can let me know in the comments. All right, but this is more of what I really want to talk about. I think what makes him super special. Because a lot of the stuff here is just standard. Like, it's really, really nice, and I love it. Oh, I didn't even talk about his sprint. So he gets here, and, yeah, well, he sprints. So he gets here, gets this air time, super linear. So you notice that he doesn't extend this left foot. I mean, sorry, his left leg. Left knee. He keeps it bent, and then lands with it bent. And you notice the knees are far apart, so he's not squeezing the knees. So he gets a really nice counterbalance effect, so it's easier to keep the weight on his right. And he lands in a super deep catch position. Really nice. So the shot put in line with his hips, so it catches here. So really nice. And he lands pretty low in his knees here. This is what makes him special and what sets him apart from almost any other shot putter in history. I want you guys to pay attention to his right foot here. All right, right here. I want you to notice how long it's on the ground. It is still on the ground here in the shot put. Oh, let me zoom out. In the shot put, still on the ground. One more frame, out of his hand. It is, the only other shot putter I've ever seen do that is Krauser. And it is honestly one of the hardest things to do with speed, power, and balance. It's beautiful to watch. Him and Ryan Krauser, and honestly, Fabbri might have a better right leg than Krauser. I mean, it's just a thing of absolute beauty. It is so hard to do this. Most shot putters are off the ground like here with their right leg. He has the patience to just crank it. And this is a textbook. Like, really, like, beautiful finish. Like, yes, I know he lands a little blocked off. So it's not, like, the best with his left leg. But that's really because he kind of went... Okay, let me zoom out more, I guess. He drove a little this way, so it kind of threw off his timing with his legs at the finish. But his finish is absolutely beautiful. And yeah, so because he's blocked off, he under-rotated a little, so he reversed that way instead of replacing his left foot, and he didn't get fully out over the toe board as he could have. But this right leg, so I want you guys to notice. So let's really break this down. So he gets here. Okay, let me center that. So he gets here, catches. You see this right knee go out. All right, so, and I really cover this. Honestly, he finishes a lot like Lars Riedel, which I think probably has top 3 finishes of all time in discus, and probably the best non-reverse finish ever. But, so, if you notice anybody who does this type of finish, which I think is the ideal finish, it's just one of the hardest things to do when you're actually, like, trying to throw far. So you're here. So the first thing he does, left foot lands, this right knee goes out. and then it goes around and then extends. So he's not just landing and then just extending and rotating at the same time. He rotates and then extends, but he doesn't fully lock out his knee. So that's very important. We're starting to get away from the times where people just fully extend both knees. That is not good. You want to fully extend this left knee for a block, but the right knee and the right leg and the right hip will just travel forward. So you see here, so he's here, and he just kind of just slides forward. So he's not jumping, all right? So he's not jumping at all. He transfers his energy from right to left, all right? So really nice. Okay, so he gets here, turns the right, and just keeps it grounded. In this position, with his heel out, instead of up on the in the air, the fact that he's still on the ground here, super level hips. I mean, hips and shoulders. So he's perfectly square to the sector. And what I mean by square is that his shoulders, hips are facing the sector. All right, so they're not out here. They're not out here. They're perfectly down the middle. I know those were probably the worst lines you've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of the best finishes I've ever seen. Really, the only other two finishes I could say are maybe on par. Well, Krauser's, I think, is better. Simply, really, just because he just throws further. And I think he just keeps his thumb down just a little bit more. And gets a little bit longer over the toe board. And then Otterdahl, I think, probably has like the best block of all time. Payne Otterdahl. But Fabbri is like the child of both of them. Like, it's just like combines Krauser's right side with Payne Otterdahl's left side, kinda. Not to the same extent, but pretty much like his block is something to behold. I know it's kind of hard to see in this video, but his left side just does not move forever. So he gets here, left side block, and his right side just cranks through and reverses, and that's a throw. So what are the takeaways we can get from Fabbri? One, you don't have to be super over here to be over your left. So as I explained in the video about getting over the left, really I define it as just being balanced, stable, strong, and smooth and comfortable out the back. All right. So, and that's basically all this is. It's just smooth, comfortable. And, the thing to look for is the armpit over the left knee, over the left toe. So he does that beautifully. Turns here. And then, so the second takeaway we can get from this is the finish mechanics. So everyone try and finish like this. This is not like a thing, like I'm too short or I'm too tall or... No, this is just how you finish. This is, if I had to do a dictionary definition of how to finish a shot put, it's either this or Ryan Krauser. All right? Or Joe Kovacs. But I think that Joe Kovacs isn't on the ground as long as Krauser and Fabbri. However, that's just because he moves way faster and he just throws in a completely different style. All right, so that's more of like a speed, and he's like the strongest shot putter of all time, so he just doesn't really need to because the throw just happens like 2 times faster. He's also probably like the fastest shot putter of all time. So I mean, those are just he just throws way different, but those three probably have the best finishes of all time in terms of just everything. So yeah, that's the second takeaway we can get from this. And then just the smoothness and the consistency. So this is a super simple technique. that he can repeat over and over again, and that's why he's consistent over 22 on basically every meet. And they're deep 22-meter throws too. So I think him and his coach, Paulo DeSaglio, who I also did a video on in my underrated throwers series, I'm pretty sure, who also coaches Zane Weir, who's, one of my personal favorite shot putters of the modern era. Fabbri quickly is becoming up there as well. It's just so simple, so easy, and that's really what you want. So the third thing we can take away is just everything is just simple. He doesn't do that many doesn't do a lot of funky stuff. It's just super technically sound, super simple, repeatable movements that he can just do over and over again, and he doesn't really have to think about. So he's not doing any crazy stuff. He's not doing like a weird wind. He's not super weird out the back. Like, he's not doing a bunch of stuff. There's very little movement in his hips, in the good ways. Like, he's not super unstable, and like everything is just balanced and just smooth. So if you guys are having trouble with consistency, it may be because you just have too much of a complicated technique. Throwing shot put is probably like the least complicated thing you could do in all the throwing events. So, with discus being a close second. All right, like, it's not very complicated at all. All right, so don't make it complicated, or else it just leads to inconsistency. You'll notice him, Krauser, Kovacs all have very, very simple techniques, and that's why they are three of the most consistent throwers of all time. All right, so yeah, just keep that in mind. So those are the three things we can take away. You don't have to. So number one, you don't have to be super, super far left over your out the back to be over your left. Two, just literally just everything about this finish. Like keeping your right foot on the ground, just turning through, so not jumping, transferring weight over the left, staying on the shot put forever. So I want you guys to notice, so he gets here, and it just looks like, I know, okay, when you slow this down, he's on the shot put forever. So he just has a really nice long release on it. So he's not trying to get it out of his hand as fast as possible. He's trying to work it as long as possible. All right, so it will feel slow, but it's not slow. He's applying force on it forever. And that's one of the things that makes Krauser so special as well, is that he works the shot put forever. All right, so he's just applying more and more force for longer and longer. And Fabbri does the same thing. So that's the second thing we can take away as well. And then the third thing is just move consistently, move in a not complicated technique. If you want to look at a discus thrower who doesn't have a complicated technique, look at Gerd Kanter, who is, I guess now he's the fourth longest thrower ever. 16-time medalist at major championships, Olympic champion, a world champion. So, if that's not consistent, earning medals in 2 different decades, I don't know what consistent is. And Fabbri and Krauser are also pillars of consistency. And to throw far, you need to be consistent. All right, you need to